Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for watching today. I'm here, it's a little bit late, so that's why I have my robe on. And I wanted to talk to you today about some things, some pieces of advice I have if you are going to go to law school. So I have both some do's and some don'ts on my notebook here, and I hope that what I have to say might help you out if you are starting law school. I am just a 1L, so I haven't really been, I don't have a wealth of experience, but I did go through my first several weeks of law school, so I thought I would just pause and reflect on what I just went through so that I can give you the best advice that I can for what I've been through. So the first piece of advice I have is not to be late, and that might seem really like a dumb piece of advice, like you've heard that so many times, but in law school, people seem to really take things like that seriously. I've had several professors call people out for being late and just kind of make them feel bad, not in a really rude way, but just not, you don't want to be that person in law school who's late. It's not like college where people roll into class a couple minutes late with sweatpants and, their coffee. No, like in law school, it seems like everyone is there before the time the class has started, and they're set up by the time the clock hits, the top of the hour, or, whatever minute your class technically starts. So don't be late. Number 2 is the dress code. Now, I think that this is a matter of personal preference and also a matter of exactly where you're going. But for my law school, aside from orientation, when they told us to dress business casual, there's been a huge breadth of outfits that I've seen from people. Some good, some bad. So the first week of class, well, maybe not the first whole week, but the first day, most people were dressed up in business casual. Not that they had to be, but I think they were just not really sure what to do. And then after that, they saw there really was no requirement for any kind of dress code. So some people went back to really casual attire. So, by the end of the first week, people were wearing flip-flops and sweatpants or athletic gear to class, which isn't necessarily an awful thing, but my piece of advice for you would be not to take it too far. There are a couple kids who continuously have worn suits to class, and to me that seems like a little bit, it seems a little overkill. And now maybe they have some other reason for wearing a suit. Most people have taken it fairly casual, but for me, I want to be as professional as possible, so I have been trying to wear outfits that are not necessarily like business casual in any means, but are a little bit nicer than, a pair of ripped jeans, flip-flops, and an old t-shirt. I've been trying to wear something that, I would consider cute, and, maybe not stylish, but that I would consider a little bit nicer than just your super casual wear. And that's what I plan to stick to. I kind of made a rule for myself that I would dress, kind of nicely Monday through Thursday, and then Friday I could take it a little bit casual. And I've been filming my outfits for the past several days, so at the end of the week I hope to make an outfit of the week video so you can kind of see what I'm talking about and get some ideas for what you might want to wear to law school. Now, by no means am I a fashion expert, but I just want to be able to give you some ideas because I've been trying to dress fairly plainly, but still nicely. So don't overdo it, but don't dress like a total slob would be my advice. Now, the next piece of advice comes into play when you're actually in class. There are so many different kinds of people, and I saw this all throughout my undergraduate experience, but in law school it seems really pronounced that there are a couple kids in each of my classes who, and I call them kids, but everyone's an adult, but who raise their hand every single time the professor poses a question, rhetorical or not, and they just feel the need to have their voice heard as often as possible. And I'm sure that you know those kind of people, and it just does not look good. People may think that you are, you may think that you are showing your intelligence or showing, that you are the material trying to impress the professor, but I have had several professors tell people to put their hands down because they raise their hands so often, and it just gets awkward and embarrassing when someone sits there with their hand raised. And that's another point I wanted to make. There's a lot of advice I have about raising your hand, but another one is that if the professor is not speaking to you, don't raise your hand. In almost every one of my classes, my professor has at some point said, okay, they've called on someone's raised their hand or not, it depends, and they say, okay, John, walk with me through this problem. And then if John starts stumbling a little bit, a bunch of sharks will raise their hand, and they'll, they won't yell anything, but they'll raise their hand and try to get the professor's attention. But honestly, that just makes you look rude because the professor specifically called on this one person to answer the question and walk through a problem with them, and you're disrespecting both the teacher by disregarding their instructions and the student by letting everyone, by showing that you don't care that they don't know the answer, but you're trying to take advantage of their lack of knowledge, which is already stressful enough being called on. So just, if the teacher is talking to someone, listen and put your hand down. And then another piece of advice I have has to do with your laptops. 2 of my classes require, or they don't allow laptops or any electronic devices, so everyone's taking notes by hand. But in my other classes, you can take notes on the computer. And there are some people that sit there and type every single word that anyone says, and they're sitting there, hammering away on their keyboard really loudly in times when it's not necessarily appropriate. Like, if the professor is, maybe reading a sentence out of the textbook or something like that, and they just feel the need to clack away on their keyboard, and it makes you, even if you are typing notes, it makes it seem like you are on, typing a text message or something like that. So I would really recommend using discretion and when you're typing, because what may seem to you like diligent note-taking can look to the professor like you are typing a text message, when it's inappropriate to be taking notes at that time. You don't need to write down every single thing that the professor says. And I've seen many people who are taking egregiously long notes for no apparent reason and destroying a kind of silence in the classroom with their exuberant typing. So chill on the typing. Another piece of advice I have would be to keep it professional. Honest to goodness, in the past several weeks, I have heard so many students talk about sex, drugs, alcohol, parties, and all these other topics which really have no place in the legal profession or in law school. I understand if you are best friends with someone and you are talking about what you like to do on the weekends, and that's one thing. But if you are talking to strangers about your exploits on the weekends and how drunk you like to get and the drugs you've tried and all that kind of stuff, it does not make you look good. I don't care if everyone else is talking about it. It is not a good look. So I would really, until you get to know a couple people that are your good friends, I would really try to keep it super professional, because these people will one day be your colleagues, and you will be working with them for the next several years. So just, you don't want any information out there that could come back to bite you. So just be mindful of what you're talking about, even if it's with your fellow 1Ls. It's like, you don't know who this person is going to be one day, or who they are now even. So I would just really watch your language and watch what you're talking about. And another piece of advice I have is to make sure you're utilizing a planner. In college, a lot of times I got away with not writing things down, or just trying to remember things, or putting post-it notes everywhere or something like that. But in law school, I think it's really important to have one place that you're always going to check your assignments, that you can carry around with you or access at any time, because things are changing a lot. Several of my classes have already been canceled, and several of my professors have changed an assignment last minute or added additional reading, and it's just nice to make sure that you have one source you can go to, that you can rely on yourself to constantly take notes and make sure that you are staying up to date with what's going on. And then my last piece of advice for your first couple weeks of law school is to make sure that you are reminding yourself why you're there and inspiring yourself. So the first couple weeks of law school have been really challenging because it's so much reading and so much work, and I know that you've probably heard that a lot. And I know I did. In every video I watched, people were talking about how much work it is, and that's true. So you have to take time for yourself to remind yourself why you're there. So that could be watching, a legal movie that you really like, or, staying up to date on your favorite social justice issues, or even looking at cool, business outfits on Pinterest or something. Whatever inspires you and whatever motivates you to continue to do work in school. I think that it's really important to take time in the first couple weeks as to why you're there, because it can seem, especially when I talk to 3Ls or 2Ls, it seems like they're so far ahead of you and you have so much longer to go in law school. So it can be really helpful to remind yourself why you're there, what you're doing, and keeping things in perspective for yourself. So that is all of my advice I have for you in your first couple weeks of law school. I probably will make another video like this later in the semester to kind of update these and see where I am in the semester and how things are going, and maybe more advice if I think of anything. But this is all I have for now, so thank you very much for watching. If you are going through your first couple weeks of law school, good luck, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.